At 94, Clint Eastwood speaks not with urgency, but with the calm authority of someone who has seen cinema evolve from myth to introspection. His career spans eras, genres, and generations, granting him a rare vantage point from which to reflect honestly on the figures who shaped American film. Among them stands John Wayne, a towering presence whose shadow once defined the Western genre itself. For decades, Eastwood avoided direct comparison, not out of avoidance, but respect for difference. Now, with time having softened rivalry into reflection, Eastwood chooses clarity over silence. His words are not revelations meant to disrupt legacy, but thoughtful acknowledgments of contrast, influence, and artistic philosophy. In speaking about Wayne, Eastwood is also speaking about himself, about how cinema changed, how heroes evolved, and how two men could represent entirely different truths while sharing the same dusty horizon of American storytelling. Growing up with the Western myth. Clint Eastwood was born in 1930 during the Great Depression, raised in a working-class environment where resilience was not romanticized, but required. Like many young Americans of his era, he grew up watching Westerns as moral instruction, with John Wayne often at the center. Wayne's characters were steady, righteous, and unshakable, embodying certainty in uncertain times. Eastwood absorbed these films not as templates, but as cultural myths, stories meant to reassure audiences of order and justice. Yet even then, he sensed that real life carried more shadows than the screen allowed. While Wayne represented the hero America wanted, Eastwood quietly wondered about the men left unexplored, the ones who survived, not triumphed. That early tension between myth and reality stayed with him, shaping his instinct to later question, rather than replicate, the heroic ideal that Wayne so powerfully represented. Two cowboys from different Americas. John Wayne and Clint Eastwood were never rivals in the traditional sense because they emerged from different Americas. Wayne came of age during Hollywood's studio era, when certainty sold tickets and heroes were meant to be admired without question. Eastwood arrived later, shaped by post-war skepticism and cultural upheaval, when audiences no longer trusted absolutes. Wayne's cowboys stood tall, spoke clearly, and represented moral authority. Eastwood's drifted silently, guided by instinct rather than law. At 94, Eastwood acknowledges this divide openly. He has said Wayne was never wrong in what he represented, only specific to his time. Their difference was not talent or strength, but philosophy. Wayne affirmed values. Eastwood examined them. Both approaches mattered. Both spoke truth to their audiences. And neither could have existed without the other marking the boundaries of the genre they defined. Finding his own voice in the shadow. Eastwood's rise through Sergio Leone's westerns was not an act of rebellion against John Wayne, but a quiet evolution of the genre Wayne helped establish. The man with no name spoke less, judged less, and survived more than he conquered. Eastwood has reflected that he never wanted to replace Wayne because no one could. Instead, he wanted to explore what happened after the certainty faded. In his later comments, Eastwood emphasized that Wayne's confidence worked because audiences trusted institutions then, law, country, and moral order. By the 1960s, that trust had eroded. Eastwood's characters reflected a world where justice was unclear and violence carried consequences. This wasn't contradiction, it was continuation. Wayne closed one chapter of the Western myth. Eastwood opened the next, not louder, but deeper, asking audiences to sit with discomfort rather than certainty. Respect without imitation. Breaking his silence does not mean Eastwood suddenly sought comparison. At 94, he speaks of Wayne with measured respect, never dismissing his impact or power. He has openly acknowledged Wayne's presence, discipline, and ability to command a screen without apology. What Eastwood never did was imitate him. He understood that imitation weakens both voices. Wayne's strength was clarity. Eastwood's was restraint. Wayne's heroes knew who they were. Eastwood's often didn't. In his reflections, Eastwood has said that Wayne was right for his audience, just as he was right for his own. Respect, in Eastwood's view, does not require agreement, it requires honesty. And honesty means admitting that Wayne's legacy was foundational, even if Eastwood's path deliberately moved in another direction, shaped by a world no longer satisfied with simple answers. A genre grows up. Eastwood's most revealing comments frame John Wayne not as an outdated symbol, but as a necessary beginning. The Western genre, he explains, matured alongside society itself. What began as morality plays evolved into meditations on consequence, regret, and survival. Wayne's films offered reassurance. Eastwood's offered reflection. Neither negates the other. At 94, Eastwood sees Westerns not as relics, but as mirrors of their time. Wayne's America needed heroes who didn't hesitate. Eastwood's needed men who questioned themselves. This evolution was inevitable, not confrontational. By acknowledging Wayne's role, Eastwood places himself within a lineage rather than above it. The genre did not abandon Wayne, it grew beyond him. And Eastwood's willingness to articulate that truth now reflects a man no longer proving anything, only preserving context. Why silence lasted so long? Eastwood's decades of silence on John Wayne were never avoidance, but restraint. He understood that comparisons often say more about critics than artists. Speaking earlier would have reduced complexity into rivalry, something he never felt. At 94, he speaks because time has removed competition from the conversation. What remains is clarity. Eastwood has said that legends deserve space, not commentary shaped by ego. Only now, when both legacies are secure, does he feel free to speak honestly without diminishing either. Silence, in this case, was respect. His words today are not corrective, but contextual. They acknowledge difference without judgment and admiration without imitation. It is the perspective of a man who understands that history simplifies too quickly, and that true legacy lies not in contrast, but in coexistence. Two legacies, one horizon. John Wayne and Clint Eastwood never shared the screen, but they share a horizon in American cinema that few others can claim. One embodied certainty, the other explored doubt. Together, they charted the emotional geography of the Western across half a century. Eastwood's reflections do not diminish Wayne, they humanize him. They place him not as a symbol to be argued over, but as an artist shaped by his moment, just as Eastwood was shaped by his. At 94, Eastwood understands that influence doesn't always mean agreement. Sometimes it means knowing what not to repeat. Wayne showed him the power of presence. Eastwood chose the power of silence. Both approaches reshape the genre. Both remain essential chapters in the same story. The truth spoken at last. When Clint Eastwood finally breaks his silence on John Wayne, the truth he offers is quiet, thoughtful, and deeply human. There is no rivalry revealed, no hidden resentment, no dramatic reversal. What emerges instead is respect grounded in difference. Eastwood honors Wayne not by praising him uncritically, but by acknowledging his place honestly. At 94, Eastwood no longer speaks to defend his legacy. He speaks to complete the record. His words remind us that cinema, like life, evolves through contrast, not conflict. Heroes change because audiences change, and legends endure not because they agree, but because they reflect their time with conviction. In the end, Eastwood's silence was not emptiness. It was patience, and now his voice adds depth to a story already written across the wide shared landscape of American film.